Now, earlier on, during our Prime News Bulletin, we reflected on residents of Alexandra who've been advocating for the occupation of the City of Johannesburg container homes and have to wait before receiving their allocations. We spoke to community leaders and activists Nkele Khalidzana and Ntabiseng Ratsela. Now, we take this conversation further and are joined by the MMC for Human Settlements, Mlungisi Mabaso, on the issue. Mr. Mabaso, appreciate your time this evening. Can you provide us with an update on the current housing projects underway in Alex? What progress has been made to date?
Thank you very much, and greetings to yourself and the viewers at home. Let me begin by indicating that there was a presidential project which was called ARP in Alexandra, which was introduced with an intention of dealing with the housing challenges within the township itself. And we are, alive to the challenges that we encountered during the implementation of that particular project. And unfortunately for the City of Johannesburg, the Department of Human Settlements at the city level was not in a way involved. It was implemented through Johannesburg Development Agency. But over and above that, the City of Johannesburg, in its last council meeting, which took place on Thursday, we passed a report which seeks to deal with the land claims that started long time ago. There are 2,500 claimants that were received by land reform, which then required the City Council to be involved in the process. So by us having to pass that report, it's now given opportunity for the City of Johannesburg to coordinate, other spheres of government with the purposes of starting to have engagements around the development of Alexandra, which will also see the upliftment of the court interdict that was obtained by those property owners with regards to further developments of Alexandra. So we are hoping and believe that process that we are embarking on as a city is going to assist us in a way in dealing with issues of human settlements in Alexandra, because there are 2,500 land claimants that were registered, which the city and other spheres of government has been in engagement with, hence the signing of a statement of intent in 2015.
Well, MMC, you obviously have a number of issues, and one of those issues is that there are container houses or containers that are being used as homes that have been lying idle in Alex. And from the guests that we had on News of Prime a little bit earlier, they suggested as many as 2,000 households could be impacted if these homes are distributed or given to these individuals. I'd like to hear your comment on that.
Well, let me first indicate that the three sites that are in Alexandra, they are meant to decongest the informal settlements within Alexandra. But the two that are in Marlborough, they are meant to decongest the informal settlements in Alexandra so that we are able to proceed with the development of Alexandra. But I gave this background of the land claims in Alexandra because you can't divorce these processes because if you are unable to deal with the issues of property owners in Alexandra, then there is no development that you will be able to implement. And that's why I started by giving this background that the city has embarked in this process because we want to unlock all the hindrances that are there in Alexandra. So the other site in Madala Hostel, the one that is adjacent to Madala Hostel, it meant to deal with the development of the hostel. And yesterday, we actually had a meeting with the leadership of Madala Hostel, Zinduna's Day, and other leaders within the hostel, where we're engaging on the processes now that we'll be embarking on with regards to the relocation so that we commence with the processes of demolishing the hostel. So that's where we are, because the site in Madala Hostel was never invaded. So with them, the city was able to move, and that's why we are at a practical completion, and that's how we have started the engagements now of allocating into that particular site. But the other two projects had encountered numerous challenges, and one of them was the invasion that occurred last year, and they were evicted early this year. So in the process of that, then the city went on to do the assessment and the inspection, and when they commenced with the processes of doing some remedial work to fix what had broken at the time, then the site got re-invaded again, and another process of eviction was then engaged on. Hence, yesterday we went there for site inspection so that we are able to quantify the damages for us to work towards completing that particular project, because we do need to allocate. But for us to allocate, the engineers need to certify that the site is ready for allocation, and we need to be, issued with the occupational certificate, which will guarantee the safety of those that will be occupying these units.
Okay, so we seem to be skirting the issues, right? Now, what we'd like to know, based on the conversation, is what is a period that is going to take to, one, confirm the state of disrepair of these units, and obviously then repair them, and what is the process of allocation? How long is that going to take before you expect these homes to be occupied?
Well, for two sites in Marlborough, it currently is difficult to give timelines. Remember, they are still doing assessment on the damages. Then the contractor will then go back to resume work on site, so that we are able to fix whatever that got damaged during the process of invasion and the eviction. So it will be very difficult for us right now to give timelines, because they are still quantifying the damages. But with the Madala Hostel, as I've indicated, that we are at a practical completion, and we have started the engagements with the leaders, and we will be convening a public meeting. And immediately after the public meeting, we'll then commence with the process of allocation. And we have agreed with the leaders that in 2 weeks, that's when then we'll be able to convene a public meeting, because we still need to brief those that are affected in the process, so that at least they also understand the process that the city is engaging on in terms of the redevelopment of the hostel.
Now, the situation in Alex has been pretty volatile, and I'm not sure that you're going to get away with a conversation with the people of Alex and not be able to give them timelines on when they can expect occupation. But that aside, how many of these units are there?
In the three different sites, the one at Madala Hostel, there are 500 units that are there, and the two in Marlborough site, there are 604 in total. So you've got the 500 on the other side, and you've got the 604 on the other side, combined in Marlborough.
So you've got just a little bit over 1,000. But can you give an undertaking of when can we expect to have, I suppose, a firm indication of when these units will be occupied? At the very least, what is the process around distribution of these units? One of the conversations that we had earlier was that there are individuals who shouldn't be getting these units, but that are in line, and there are gogos that have been waiting since as early as 1993 to be allocated housing in Alex.
Well, the allocation policy of human settlements will guide the process. Remember, we are detected by council and the allocation process as outlined by the provincial government and the national government. So we are not going to deviate from that. That's exactly what we are going to do. But the engagements will also assist in a way so that at least residents understand how we are going to go about in terms of allocation. And that's why we've started these engagements. And that's why we went to Madala Hostel yesterday. But I also made a commitment to the leaders, because yesterday when we went to Marlborough, we did engage with leaders as much as we did not have sufficient time because we were busy with the site inspection. But I did, in fact, commit to them that in 14 days, I will go back to Alexandra. I will engage with the residents of Malboro. I will engage with the residents of Madala Hostel. But over and above that, we will be engaging with the 2,500 land claimants that we still need to engage on, so that we are also be able to workshop them the process that we'll be embarking on in terms of dealing with their land claims in Alexandra. So we'll be spending more time in Alexandra, and we'll be spending more time, in fact, engaging with our residents so that we are able to take them along in terms of all the processes that we will be embarking on as the city.
Now, Mr. Mabaso, you said that one of your plans is to decongest informal housing. So informal housing in many ways would have come in into the environment of Alexandra, or the radius of Alexandra, post a need for residents of Alexandra that were in there already, anticipating to get housing or some form of allocation. How are you going to balance the two, the need to decongest informal housing, which speaks to individuals that have come into Alex potentially in the last few months, versus residents of Alex that also require decongestion within the Alex area?
Like I've indicated, that we are guided by the policy. The policy it clearly outlines the processes on how we're going to do it.
What are those processes? Just walk us through those processes quickly, please, if you don't mind.
Well, one, remember there is a housing waiting list. So we've got beneficiaries within the system, and even in Alexandra, we do have those people that have applied for houses. But in the Alexandra as well, we've got the property owners, we've got people, in fact, who knows who are the senior citizens in Alexandra and those that came first in Alexandra. So Alexandra's got its own dynamics, and that's why when you get to Alexandra, you need to make sure that you engage with the stakeholders so that you understand the dynamics, so that it also informs how you will have to align your processes with the dynamics together with the policy that you will be applying in terms of the allocation and identifying of the beneficiaries. So these engagements, in fact, that I've been emphasizing on, in fact, I'm presenting them to you so that at least you also have an appreciation that when it comes to Alexandra, you need to engage first with the affected stakeholders so that they are able to understand how you are going to engage in your process, but they also understand the policies that you also need to adhere to. So those engagements, in fact, that I'm talking to are the ones that are going to assist us in processes of allocation and identifying beneficiaries, guided by our own allocation policies and our own council processes.
All right, finally, before we let you go, can you guarantee that that these lists will not be manipulated? Because it is a big concern.
No, definitely not. We are very transparent in our processes. And I'm talking about myself having been a political head of the department, and I'm not going to make references to the previous processes and allocations, because I know there are quite a lot of dispute in how the allocation went about in the ARP project. But with us, how we do allocation, we are very transparent, because after officials have concluded the process of identifying beneficiaries, doing vetting and screening to check people if they meet the criteria, we then engage the councillors to outline how then the department engage with the process. Then after that, we take that to the public so that at least they know who are those identified beneficiaries, for them to tell us if those people are not from the community, which is said to be from those particular communities. So how we've been doing allocation in Johannesburg during my time since the MMC, we've been very transparent, and we are going to be transparent. And that's why I always appreciate a moment where I go out to engage with our community so that they understand the processes that we undertake in terms of identifying and allocating people into houses.